Good evening. My name is Nathan Booth, and tonight we'll be discussing green belts and parks, how we can save the countryside from the city. So our issue that we have right now is that urban development is taking its toll on the world's countrysides. Cities are continuing to expand and are consuming large portions of countryside in the process and basically leaving no green space to be had. So fortunately, United Kingdom pioneered this concept many years ago about green belts and greenways. They're being used to combat this tragedy of the commons. So basically, green belts and greenways are areas of land designated by a government policy to prevent development and preserve open spaces that would otherwise be lost forever. So what we're going to examine tonight is the creation of a green belt area outside of a city, just a hypothetical city, and it's going to take the place of a regional, take the form of a regional park. The reason this is important is it prevents development of land, like we were speaking about earlier. It preserves open spaces, and it will also provide some recreational opportunities for citizens, depending on how the project is constructed. So, alternative projects. First alternative is always going to be the baseline, status quo, do nothing. Second alternative, we're going to just designate the area as parkland and then only do minimal improvements such as parking lot and a road to get into it. And then the third alternative, we're going to do everything in alternative A, but we're also going to construct a shelter house and a playground structure for recreational purposes so that a wider variety of people will be able to take advantage of the park. So, perspectives that we're going to have to consider when we do this cost-benefit analysis. First off, we have the business community. They're going to benefit from increased economic activity because they're going to have higher levels of traffic with people going in and out of the park. Second is going to be the citizens of the city and the surrounding areas, just because they're using the park and what their perspectives would be on, is it good, is it worth using? And then the government, of course, because the government's going to be the ones constructing the parkland. Benefits and costs. Boardman noted that benefits and costs will depend on whether the entity doing the analysis is a spender or a guardian. So we're taking this from the perspective of the budget agency, which is obviously going to be a guardian. The costs that we have identified, actually let's go back to the benefits first. Benefits we've identified actually have been specified and have been noted by the National Park Service in one of their studies for developing one of their parks. There's protection of natural resources. There's which is intangible. You can't really measure that. There's increased economic activity for the surrounding businesses. We're going to just do a rough estimate of $1 per visitor per year on average, because we know not every visitor is going to stop at every business. And then improve property values. Crompton did a study about residential property values rising in the wake of the construction of a park. And what he found was with Whetstone Park in Columbus, which is your typical recreational park, they had a 7.35% price increase. And with Cox Arboretum in Dayton, which does not have recreational facilities, that had an increase of 5.13%. So we're going to use those as our estimates for improved property values, and we're going to assume that there's $15 million property value. It's probably low, but just for the purposes of this cost-benefit analysis, that's what we're going to use as our estimate. So costs. We have the infrastructure, which is going to be the cost of sidewalks, pathways, traffic lights, and parking lots. That will be required for either of the alternatives, because you still have to be able to get in there. Recreational structures, you're going to have the cost of the shelter house and the play structure. That obviously is only going to be the third alternative, or the one alternative B, which including the first alternative as the baseline. And then we have financing. It's the cost of bonds is what we're going to look at for the financing here. And honestly, we don't have any necessary because we're assuming that this project is going to be completed under an existing tax levy with excess funds that we have there. So financing costs are going to be negligible in this case. The infrastructure costs that we're using in these estimates for the cost-benefit analysis, they were done estimates developed by the North Carolina Department of Transportation when doing a pedestrian walkway study. So discounting our our costs and benefits, we're going to assume 6% over 10 years, which in our hypothetical situation, that's the life and coupon rates of our existing bond facilities. And all of the tangible benefits and costs are going to be discounted, which means we're not going to be discounting the protection of natural resources because that's an intangible benefit. So sensitivity analysis, the shelter house and play costs, the play structure costs are uncertain. Those can vary based on bids received from some subcontractors. Low bids are always going to surprise you, and sometimes you might actually have to go out and bid again because you didn't estimate high enough. Then also, increased economic activity. We're using a conservative estimate. We really need to do an additional study in this hypothetical city to ensure an accurate estimate, but just for sake of argument, $1 per visitor per year is going to be sufficient for this. So our recommendation, we're going to build a park with the recreational facilities, which is alternative B. The detailed price estimates are included in the paper that goes along with this presentation, but suffice it to say that the net present value of alternative A is negative, so minus $41,200, which that is just the creation of the park, the designation of the park, and putting in a parking lot and a roadway to go in. And then alternative B, we have a positive net present value of $136,363. So that is going to be the more economic, that's going to make the most economic sense to construct the park in that manner. So my references are listed here, and if you have any questions, I will be happy to entertain them in separate email. Thank you for your time and have a good evening.